Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Founders Business Society, where we believe that change is possible. And today, the change that we are going to do is to take a moment and look back on the year that has just been. We know you are tired, you want to get to your holiday destinations, you don't want to think about business at this point in time. But the reality is, this is the best time to just take a moment and reflect back on the year that has just been. And today we're going to do specifically a marketing audit for entrepreneurs. Quick, easy, to make sure that you get it done, that you don't get strangled in all the detail. But before I give everything away in one slide, let's start. Cornel West, famous American philosopher, once said that you can't move forward until you look back. And yes, there's lots of debate on whether one should look back. If you just Google the quote on looking back, you get various different options on this specific topic. And some people say that it is a waste of time and it will tempt you to procrastinate. But the idea here is not to stand still for too long, but you have to just take a sneak peek towards the year that has been. Because if you don't look at the numbers and everything that has happened, what you have tried, what have you not tried, and see what has worked, what has not worked, you can't effectively move forward and plan for the year coming. So, for those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Christelle Rosley Venter, and I've been creating and sharing business stories since 1993. And I often say I've been doing presentations since the days of DOS and Harvard Graphics. But that does give my age away, so let's not focus on that. I've been doing strategic marketing planning and brand building since 2004. And I'm also a certified SA business coach, amongst other things. So today we're going to specifically work through a workbook that will be made available to every one of you on an entrepreneurial version of a marketing audit. And the idea is to quickly look at what marketing did work, what did not work, did you hit your goals? And what will you do differently next year? We are going to follow the KISS rule. Keep it simple, stupid, because we do believe that complexity kills execution. A lot of the times we get so bogged down in the detail that we just don't start, or we start but we don't finish. And I do believe it's important to get a bird's eye view of what is happening in the shortest, simplest way. And then from there, you can drill down. And I'm going to explain a little bit more as we go along on all the various areas where you can drill down. But keep it simple, stupid is very much important. And then it is important to note that the true definition of marketing is knowing your clients so well that the product you offer fits them perfectly and almost sells itself. And yes, we are going to refer to marketing, which should actually be marketing communication, because in this audit, we talk predominantly about our adverts and website and everything else to get the message out there. But it is important to just keep in mind that marketing in its true sense is knowing your customer or client so well that the product that you offer fits them perfectly, and that marketing communication or promotional side of it is only one small bit of marketing. But hopefully I don't confuse you too much. Just remember, marketing is essentially knowing your clients so well and understanding them that what you offer fits them perfectly. couple of realities that we need to look at, because it's very, very easy to say, oh no, whatever I'm doing is working for me, or it has been working. I'm pretty content in where I am. But the reality is the market, the economy in which we operate keeps on changing. And this visual that I have on the slide is a very, very good example of what we are dealing with. And the whole idea is to get the message across that whatever has worked in the past will not necessarily work in the future. And the specific visual is of what happens on a daily basis, per minute, 60 seconds. What action is happening on the internet? If you look at it, I think to start off with Google, people conduct 5.7 million Google searches per minute. And this is not even up-to-date information. As we progress on a daily basis, these numbers keep on climbing. But 5.7 million Google searches per minute. We have, if I look quickly, we've got things like Twitter feeds, 575,000 Twitter feeds per minute, every day on average. And yes, that is before Elon Musk took it over, so hopefully it's not going to tank. It might just increase. Most probably it will. From there, we can see 6 million online purchases that's being done per minute on average. It is insane. And again, if you think whatever you've done in the past is good enough to continue with in the future, you will be left behind. It's as simple as that. We need to look at 2022's goals. Did you set your goals? If you have set your goals, did you achieve them? The reality is that, especially your smaller entrepreneurs, but a lot of larger enterprises, very seldom sit down and do their marketing planning for a year ahead. So if you don't have goals to look back to, don't stress. Don't get yourself into a panic. It is important going forward to set your goals, because if you don't know where you're going, you will have no idea how to get there. And yes, plans do change. Things change, the economy change, politics change, everything change. And you have to adapt as you go along. But you at least have to have a general idea of where you're going. If I plan on getting to Cape Town from Joburg, yes, there might be a flood, roads might fall in and you have to divert, but at least you have some idea that at some point you want to get to Cape Town, and then you can plan the best route, scenic route, the tarred route, but you have a general idea you will want to get to Cape Town in the end. So getting back to, did you set, let's assume you have set your goals. Have you achieved your goals? And if you have not achieved them, what will happen? And yes, as I said earlier, start with the end in mind, Cape Town bit. Remember that? Okay, so have you achieved your goals? What stopped you from achieving your goals? Why did you divert? Was it a good enough reason to have diverted? And looking back, because it's always easier to look back and see, maybe that diversion was not a good idea. Or maybe it was. Maybe it was an absolute godsend. But it is good to check your goals, check what has happened to them, and then ascertain, was it good, was it bad, and what will you change going forward? And then when you look at goals, it is important to look at, did you enjoy what you were doing? What did you enjoy? What did you not enjoy? And then it's important to look at, was that goal or that action that you have done important enough for you to change your perception around it? And I think something like presentations is a very, very good example, where most people don't like presentations, all the normal ones. The standard average Joe doesn't like presenting, doesn't like to stand up and talk to people, or even just talk one-on-one to a new potential client. But it is important. So whether you like it or not, it is something that you need to work at. Or if you don't want to work at it, you need to employ somebody to do it on your behalf. But it's ideal if you do it. So if it is important enough, it is now the time to say, shove it. I did do presentations. I hated every second of it. So what can I do to improve it? What can I do to start almost loving presentations, or at least not dreading it? I think if you can get to that point where you're not dreading your next presentation, you would have made loads and loads of inroads. And then we need to start adding up the numbers. And yes, if you are a typical marketing communications person, you will probably not be into numbers. It would probably be the last thing that you would like to do. But ask me, I know from personal experience, it does make a massive difference. If you have a number of leads that you have generated throughout the year, doesn't matter whether it's from digital marketing, traditional advertising, PR, word of mouth, etc., whatever element you have employed, how much leads did you get? How many leads did you get from this? And then from there, what was your conversion rate? If you have spoken to 10 people, how many of those 10 have converted into a paying customer, paying client? And that will get you to the conversion rate. And yes, as you can imagine, that conversion rate, depending on whether it's high or low, will give you a very good indication whether you're doing a good job, great job, or a not so good job. And then from there, from your number of customers, how many transactions have they done? If you look at something, for instance, like 40 scans, if you get a customer or client in to do 140 scan, it is ideal that they will come for follow-up scans. So if that number of transactions that the one pregnant lady, mother to be, depending on how many times she has come back, will also give you an idea of, is there something wrong with your service? Do you have to change it? Do you have to, whatever you have to change, something needs to change if they didn't come back. If I didn't come at least for another 2 or 3 scans after the first 12-week scan. So number of transactions and returning customers, very, very important. And then from there, and you see we're leading up here to what we call the 7 steps of business growth. What is the average sale that you have done with these people? Can you increase that? Should you lower it? And then from there, if you multiply the number of customers, number of transactions, the average sale, it will get you to your turnover, and from there to your profit. So this is basically, in essence, the most important numbers to look at. And then from there, we can drill down or drill up, depending on how you look at it. So it all starts with the number of leads, and then the conversions, then the number of clients, number of transactions, etc., etc. See where we're going to? We're working up a funnel here. And yes, most importantly, you need to sit down and decide, are you happy with these numbers? And what else can you do to improve the numbers? And then we get to a section which I call client love. And we can talk about client love forever and ever and ever, because it is so vitally important. And yes, I'm pretty sure you're going to think that I am repeating myself here. And yes, I am repeating myself on knowing your client so well that the product that you offer fits them perfectly and sells itself. So yes, it is a repeat, but it's also a reminder that we have to keep on coming back to our clients, to our customers, and keep on checking in. Do we serve them as well as we should be? Everything starts and ends with our customer. All our decisions that we make, all our actions that we take, starts and ends with our clients. Because guess what? Without them, we can close our business. So very, very, very important. But the very important question is, did you do client surveys in 2022? Did you check in on why they like you, why they don't like you? Did you draw up personas of each section of your target market? And yes, personas is something that we discuss in our client love workshops and all the information that we do through Founders Business Society and Founders Academy. So if you are a Founders member, you will have access to all this information through our Founders Academy and through our coaching sessions. But drawing up personas of your typical clients, so important. Without those personas, you can't make informed decisions. You need to know what's their PNGs. And yes, this is not a little graphic. PNG in this instance stands for pains, needs, and possible gains. What are the pains that they have that's not currently being addressed? What are their needs? And what are the potential gains that they're looking to get through your service or whatever other competition is available out there? And then, very importantly, we need to look at the reasons why they have signed up or bought your product, and very importantly, why they are leaving. And I think this is probably the most crucial part to stand still at, is normally when somebody leaves, we don't stand still and ask, why did you leave? What is wrong? Were you unhappy? Did you just run out of money? If you have run out of money, is our service maybe too expensive? Or did we pitch it at the wrong person? But we have to look at how many people did leave us and why did they leave us. And the reality is, I talk so often to my clients where they don't even know that somebody that have been very good customer of theirs has not returned. They didn't notice it. So please go and check. How many customers have you lost? And why did they not return back to you? Getting to the digital marketing side of our workbook. So remember, we are busy working through the workbook that you will be receiving at the end of this presentation. When it comes to digital marketing, the number one element to look at is your website visits. Website visits take center stage, especially in today's economy where most sales happen as a result of your website. Whether people buy physically online or whether they just go to your website to check out whatever services you are providing, whatever specials you are having, check out blogs, etc. Everything pretty much starts and ends at your website. So if you look at the success of your digital marketing funnel, which starts with a discovery and interest and all those things, on which we also have an entire program in the Founders Academy, It all starts and ends with website visits and how successful that was. And it is probably one of the easiest sets of statistics to get your hands on. Because if you have a domain, you must be hosted by someone somewhere. And those domain hosting providers will have the statistics. It will be there for you to go back and look at. And yes, I get asked, but what if I haven't followed my visitor stats? How do I get hold of it? Can I look back? Yes, you can, as long as you've been with that specific hosting provider for a period of time, you will be able to go back into their stats. Otherwise, you need to look at things like your Google stats. But personally, I prefer to look at the service-specific stats that you will only receive from your website hosting provider. So let's quickly run through it. Page visits. How many people have visited your page in January, February, March, and going through the entire year? How many unique page visits did you receive? Say, for example, I've been onto a website 10 times. I'm only counted, my page visit will show up as 10, but my unique page visits will show up as one person. And then your hits. How many times have I clicked boom, 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 boom on the website? Makes a massive difference because it shows engagement. If it hit rate is low, it means there's almost no engagement. And if there's no engagement, you need to check how are we going to fix it. Or if it's okay, hits, you need to look at how can we improve it. There's always room for improvement. And then average time on the site, very, very important. If somebody comes into your site and just leaves again, guess what? They're not interested or something has gone wrong. You might have set up links that automatically clicks through to another site and has not been set as open in a new window. If you keep on programming your website to open in a new window, it means that people can come back to your site. They're not going to lose their place in your story. So very, very important. And yeah, you can go on and on and on website statistics. There is a zillion things to look at. If we look at this specific set of statistics right in front of us, we can typically see the unique visitors from January to December, and it's very easy to see that this company has pretty much stopped doing marketing around about June, July. And then from there, it just went downhill. So if your stats look like this, you've got a problem. We look at the number of visits, the pages, the hits, bandwidth. Bandwidth is typically how much data has been pulled from your website. And yes, high bandwidth could be a massive problem because it means that your images on your website is too big, and that has got so many ramifications, like your SEO stats will go down, etc., etc. But your whole host of things that will tell you. Days of a week, the visitors that go onto your website, in this specific instance, we can see that most people go onto a website on a Tuesday. So if I am planning my newsletter, and I've always sent it out on a Friday, it's very easy to see that Fridays are not a good day to send out your newsletter. Yes, depending on what type of business you're in, maybe you are in a business where you want action, lots of action over a weekend. But your stats show that from a Friday, there's not a lot of action happening. So again, you can look at, in future, we need to fix that. Or if your visit durations on our second slide or second image shows that the majority of people only visit your page for less than 30 seconds, it definitely indicates that there is a problem and you need to work on it or at it. And then we need to start building our audience. And in a digital marketing environment, it's very easy to quickly look at things like your email marketing. For those of you who do email marketing, you will probably know that the stats are really amazing. You can see how many people have opened your newsletter, how many people have read your newsletter, how many people have clicked on certain parts of your newsletter, how many people have returned to your newsletter, where they've opened it, closed it, and returned at a later stage. And all those stats give you a very good idea of what the engagement is regarding your email newsletters, and pretty much who is interested and what are people interested in. It is so important not to carry on the same way. Excuse me, let me just have a quick sip of water. It is so easy to just carry on in the same old tradition without looking at these stats and seeing that we might have a problem, or we are missing opportunities, or we keep on posting information about the royal family, but nobody's interested in the royal family anymore. So then we need to adapt. But we can only see this in our stats, because most people won't tell you this. The stats will tell you. And yes, while we're still on email marketing, people often say, I keep on sending out email marketing and email newsletters, but nobody opens it. It is important to note that people might not necessarily open your newsletter, but they still see it in their inbox. So unless they unsubscribe, they're still seeing it on a daily, weekly, monthly, depending on the frequency of your newsletter. They're still going to see you in their inbox feed. Even if they take a split second to delete it every time, they still see it, see your name, and they still reminded that, Christelle's still there, so she's still doing great work. I must remember to phone her whenever I have time for X, Y, and Z. It is not a waste of time, as long as they don't unsubscribe. But again, that will be in your numbers, so go and check your numbers. Go and check on whether if you had a Facebook campaign or Instagram or YouTube, depending on what platform you have chosen for your campaigns, check the stats. It will show you where you have achieved results or not. And if it's difficult to understand these stats and know what to do after you've received the stats, you are welcome to contact us at Venture Business Coaching and Content. Can do one-on-one coaching for you and work through all these stats. Or we also have a program, Founders Business Society, through which you have signed up for this webinar today. Founders only works in groups. So there is, if you are a member of Founders, you have access to our group coaching sessions. You have access to our Founders Academy. We have more information on how-tos, etc., etc. But alternatively, if a group thing doesn't work for you, Adventure Business Coaching and Content is there to help you on a one-on-one personalized manner. But look at your stats first. Get your stats first. Without that, you cannot even begin to try and make a change. Getting on to traditional advertising, your newspaper adverts, your TV adverts, your radio campaigns, etc., etc. And yes, a lot of people has sort of stopped doing it because, one, it's extremely expensive depending on which channels you use, and it is just so much easier to work on digital marketing as opposed to the traditional stuff. But never ever underestimate the value of traditional advertising. But whatever you have done, and the workbook has got space where you can write in what was the tactic that you've used, what was the results that you have achieved from all these tactics. And then it is important to consider the cost. It doesn't help you've had this amazing radio campaign, but it cost you R1 million throughout 2022, and you have only received 50 sales from it. Again, it depends on what the value is of those sales, but it is important to view every single tactic that you have done compared to the results that you have achieved, compared to the cost that was involved. And at the end of this analysis, you will have a much better picture of, will it be worth it to continue with this in 2023? Or do I have to re-look at my whole marketing campaign? And yes, something very, very important to consider here is, did you do those radio ads just for ego purposes? Because let's face it, it's really nice to see your company, to hear your company on radio and see it on TV, etc., etc. But did it achieve growth results or not? And again, if you look at your numbers, it will give a much clearer picture. And then after all of this, and again, before we continue, remember that within traditional marketing, we've also got things like, and maybe I should just go back 1 second. Within the traditional advertising, it says advertising, but you'll see in the workbook, it also includes things like personal sales. It includes things like your word of mouth. It includes public relations, publicity. It includes promotions. All those traditional communication channels is all included in this slide here. So we haven't forgotten about the personal sales and PR, etc., etc. And going back to where we were, from here we need to look at, and it's in your workbook, the top 3 acquisition sources that you have dealt with, the ones that have given you the most results. And I have written down on the slide here, traditional, digital, personal sales, word of mouth. Under each section, under traditional, there is loads of different elements. Under digital, there's loads of different elements. I think if we just look at under digital, we have social media marketing, but under social media marketing, we've got organic marketing, we've got pay-per-click marketing, and the list goes on and on and on. And on each different one of those, we have all the different channels, the LinkedIn's, the Facebooks, the email marketings, etc., which we can drill down. But I like to have a bird's eye view first, and then from there drill down, because I do believe that if we drill down first, if we start with all the massive detail, we get so engrossed and just completely overwhelmed with a massive amount of information available that we end up not finishing what we have started. So much better to get a bird's eye view of what has happened, what has worked, what has not worked, and then from there we can drill down. But I'm pretty sure that from what we have discussed here, you will already have lots of ideas of where to go and look for your information, of what you have achieved, what you have not achieved, and have some better insight as to where to go to from here. Okay, so we have discussed during this webinar that there's different options to look at when you get your information, your statistics, of how to take it further. And the very first one that I want to talk about is Founders Business Society, and specifically Founders Academy, where we have information for you to work through, to look at. You've got this data, you've got this, for instance, website stats. how do I take it and make changes to 2023? How do I make sure that 2023 is way more successful than 2022? If you are a member of Founders, you have access to group coaching, you have access to information in Founders Academy, and a whole host of other services. Whether you are just starting out as an entrepreneur, one-man show, or whether you are a unicorn in progress, we really want you to sign up. We really want more entrepreneurs and people with entrepreneurial spirit and mindsets. We can get together, the more we can help each other. And even if you're a massively successful entrepreneur, that doesn't really need all of us. We need you to come on board and tell your story to help our new entrepreneurs, our struggling entrepreneurs. And yes, it's all a case of collaborating and making sure that through our entrepreneurship, we make a difference to our country and everyone around us. So please, please, please go and visit founders.co.za, founders with a double F, foreverfriends.co.za, and then reach out to us on if you have any questions. We'd love to talk to you, but we'd love to see you as a member of Founders. And yes, I have mentioned there's another option as well, Adventure Business Coaching and Content. Apologies for that. And the whole with Adventure Business Coaching and Content, you have an option of one-on-one service. Whether you like a group setup or the one-on-one, we can help you. So go and check it out.